I can't believe I'm gonna say this or do this, but I'm gonna say it and do it anyway. You know, was it today or yesterday? A bus of 400 children or so was found at the Bedbridge border post. They say it's child trafficking, but between me and you, we know it's not child trafficking. It's just kids that closed schools in Zimbabwe, visiting their parents in Johannesburg for just 1 month. January 5, 6, they're going back to Zimbabwe. Legal or illegal, that's what it is. This is this it shows the breakdown of black governance systems in Southern Africa. When Europeans made the law, they made it for the interests of white people, not black people. We found independence in Zimbabwe. South Africa also attained independence. They still stuck to laws that are blind to the plight and the needs of the black population in the region. There is no need for these children to come to South Africa illegally when we have got black governments that can facilitate for legal travel documents for Zimbabwean children who have got their parents in South Africa. There is there is there, there is a legal way of doing it. There is a passport system. First of all, I do not know why those kids don't have passports. Perhaps they have passports because they talk about child trafficking, bus full of children. I wouldn't. I can understand how those children may not have passports. Like it's not difficult to get a passport in Zimbabwe, and even if they had the passports, you know that probably the border control systems and the laws that have got to do with minors traveling or without parents. I think perhaps the laws surrounding that could cause the parents and the bus drivers to desire to break the law to get what they want to get. But then again, it also shows the lack of empathy in the governance system of understanding black people's trends and facilitating laws and a regulatory environment that that eases the pain of travel or eases the pain of black lives. You see, so it shows me that our black leadership either still doesn't understand their purpose of governance, or they do understand but they deliberately cater for a system that is still oppressive to the black populace. For if you see both in South Africa and Zimbabwe, before apartheid or during apartheid and the Smith regime, the economy and the whole ecosystem was tailor made for white folks, and also the black majority was used for cheap labor. Come post 1994 South Africa and post 1980 Zimbabwe, here we are 2023, the situation is still the same. We have got black leaders. Our independence has produced billionaire black leaders. Mnangagwa was a billionaire. Cyril Ramaphosa is a billionaire. Yet the black Zimbabweans and black South Africans are still suffering today with no legislation or policy direction from both governments that show a clear indication or a clear direction of massive black economic empowerment. South Africa has had what they call triple BEE, broad-based black economic empowerment, but we know that it's not as broad as it's supposed to be. It's only as broad as one is connected to the comrades. Zimbabwe has failed dismally at such attempts at things like affirmative action in the 90s and the land redistribution program that produced farmers who never got support from government, and therefore uh, have destroyed the mining, the agricultural sector in Zimbabwe. So what am I saying? I'm saying that our leaders, like Edi Mnangagwa and Cyril Ramaphosa, have become billionaires. Ramaphosa has got shares. He has never built anything. Even Edi Mnangagwa has never built anything. What we have in Zimbabwe, South Africa, is two old gentlemen who are billionaires, but they have never built anything, have got no track record or desire to build anything. But however, the white folks in the region, the white so-called white monopoly capital, would be happy to have Cyril Ramaphosa and Edi Mnangagwa in power, because both of them have got no willingness to facilitate for the capacitation of the black masses. You see, to me, the billionaire status of Cyril Ramaphosa is actually a bribe from white monopoly white monopoly capital, so that he would be able to keep black South Africans impoverished. And that is what is happening. All right, it's the same thing with Edi Mnangagwa. He's the fact that those white people, whether they're in South Africa or in Britain or in USA, would have got an incentive of supporting the Mnangagwa regime. Okay, they'll never say to their mouth, but undercover, the fact their inaction is in itself action. The inaction of the British government, the inaction of Washington, the inaction of the South African billionaires of not doing anything about Emerson Mnangagwa's corrupt regime in Zimbabwe proves to me and shows all of us that actually it is them approving of what is doing, and therefore extracting the value of um, a cheap black Zimbabwean labor force, who are now having to expose their children to abuse through corrupt border systems that are not benevolent or are not kind to the black cause. Hence, we need to remove ZANU-PF and Edi Mnangagwa and instill a government that will create a governance system uh, that is sensitive to black needs, that is sensitive to the black plight, that is sensitive to the interest of our people in creating a truly broad based black economic empowerment uh, that will help the Zimbabweans, that will stop the flow of the Zimbabweans coming into South Africa. But you see, white monopoly capital doesn't want the flow of poor Zimbabweans coming into South Africa. To them, it gives them leverage in extracting low wage earners in South Africa, coming from Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia, Malawi, DRC, all of these failed states whose leaders, to me, have been, whether overtly or clandestinely, uh, bribed, so to speak, by the system to stay in power. The looting of Mnangagwa and the brazen looking away by the British and the Americans and the white South Africans, to me, is is a bribe to Emerson Mnangagwa, so that he can continue producing a black labor force that is cheap, well educated, but can be gotten cents on the dollar to for the uh, to facilitate the capitalism in Southern Africa. Hence, studying the Chinese Communist Party of China and trying to see how Xi Jinping, CCP, ever since the day of Deng Xiaoping in the 1976, how they actually uplifted 800 million Chinese out of poverty through their communist system and network, is something for us Zimbabweans. The new government of Zimbabwe should be looking forward to learn, to see how we can also uplift the 20 million Zimbabweans out of poverty. It is something that most of the white monopoly capitalists would not like. But however, I wouldn't say all white monopoly capitalists wouldn't like it. I wouldn't say that all American capitalists also wouldn't like it, because China was empowered by American and European capitalism. So when it comes to these so-called capitalists, we need to have some friends in Wall Street. We need to have some friends, not everyone in Britain, but some capitalists in the city of London might be interested in sponsoring a successful Zimbabwe. Some capitalists in South Africa might be interested in uh, investing in the economic uh, 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 miracle that I believe I will lead in Zimbabwe. You see, I do not need all capitalists. I do not need all of them to say yes. I just need a few of them who are clever. Talking, taking a look at someone like Rubenstein. Okay, Rubenstein of the Carlyle Group. He has done well in China. In fact, he was early in China. I think in the 1970s, him and his family have had business dealings with China. He has also done well in Saudi Arabia. They do the future investment initiative in Saudi Arabia. You see, he's a white Jewish American doing business in China, which is not even capitalist country. It's a communist party doing business dealings in Saudi Arabia, which is not even a Judeo-Christian country. It is a Muslim country. So you see, for me, Rubenstein and this Carlyle group, when I look at them and I'm seeing him as a kind of person who would look at Zimbabwe, an African country of black people, not white people, Africans, not Americans, but because of his open mindedness, him and people of his nature could be interested in picking the tab for resuscitating the Zimbabwean economy and really building capital investments and setting up a capital structure that they can be empowered by them and their other friends from Wall Street. Who else can we include in that list? People like Jamie Diamond isn't a bad guy. Okay, I think he's also open-minded and he's a wall for Wall Street. He want to take advantage of the opportunity. And who else am I looking for? Also looking at Larry Fink. Larry Fink of BlackRock. I mean, give me Rubenstein, give me Larry Fink, give me Jamie Diamond, give me Ray Dalio, give me who else? I mean, those few people. I don't need the whole of Washington wanting Zimbabwe to be free. I do not need the whole British monarchy wanting us to be free. I just need a few people. Give me uh, Mr. Schwab from the World Economic Forum. He's a nice guy. He loves Zimbabwe. I've seen his interviews before. He loves Zimbabwe. He can be able to put together a group of billionaire investors who understand where we're coming from. Because I want them to look at Zimbabwe as a startup. It's a startup country, and if you're looking at Zimbabwe, it's not just Zimbabwe. Take it to look at Zimbabwe together, group it with Mozambique, Zambia, DRC. Look at the minerals in DRC, minerals in Zimbabwe, in Zambia. Look at the whole region as a whole. They've got a failed government in South Africa, and they're destroying. The ANC is destroying South Africa, which was the jewel of the region. And the United States is fighting with China. Not fighting, but competing with China and having investments in my country, in our territory, who would help them to be part of this uh, diversification element of not just relying on China for global manufacturing, but also in our region as well. So I'm giving an opportunity for American capitalism to participate in this massive growth of the Zimbabwean economy. So, as I said, though some of our problems have come from so-called quote unquote white people, It's not all white people who feel the same about black Africans. And I do not need a consensus of white monopoly capital or a consensus of Washington. Actually, I don't want a Washington consensus. I do not even need a Wall Street consensus. I just need a few guys from Wall Street. As I told you, Mr. Rubenstein, uh, Mr. Schwab from the Economic Forum, um, Larry Fink, big guy there, and uh, by the way, condolences to one of my favorite investors, uh, Charlie Manga, who is the vice chairman, who was the vice chairman of Berkshire Hathaway. By the way, Berkshire Hathaway's chairman is also another of my favorite investors. Uh, uh, Warren Buffett. By the way, one of my friends calls me Warren Buffett because I always talk about stock market. He doesn't understand what's going on. So look at those people. I mean, I wonder if Warren Buffett would be interested in Zimbabwe, or he's interested in retiring more than analyzing new things, new ventures. But people like that, you know, hungry, young Wall Street investors that want to look at something new with a great growth potential, with a young, dynamic president in a country who is willing to take the country forward very quickly and is willing to try new ideas and willing to take advice and insight from seasoned Wall Street executives and pioneers and great men like Jamie Diamond. I think, yeah, can we can really begin talk about getting Zimbabwe forward. That's why I wouldn't eat Dinanga Kwakwan. It's just wasting our time. Eat DNA ZANU-PF, they must just go. On top of that, they are friends with Iran, which might sell Zimbabwe's uranium to Iran so that they can make a bomb and destroy Israel. So he needs to go. I mean, Israel is not safe with Itim Mnangagwa as president of Zimbabwe. So that is also a point that we need to hammer home, that the Israel Defense Force must be aware of. And therefore, it is essential for our friends of Israel who are also in Wall Street to be part and parcel of our Zimbabwean miracle so that they also get to see and know whether Zimbabwean uranium is going and how it is used uh, in a much more responsible manner so that we can maintain global peace and the current global ecosystem intact. So yeah, have a great evening.